Welcome back to Nourishing Maine. I'm Mary Kate Rennie.
And I'm Marge Kilkelly, and we're here at Dragonfly Cove Farm in Dresden and are so pleased to have with us today the Commissioner of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry for the state of Maine, Amanda Beal.
Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me in your kitchen. This is really exciting.
It's fun. And we have a really special recipe today, and a kind of famous recipe, I think. So it was in the Maine Community Cookbook, the second edition, but then...
Well, then it was featured in Down East Magazine, which I happen to think my grandmother, if she was still with us, would be very, very proud of that and should get a real kick out of it too.
Yeah, that's exciting.
It is, I bet, yes. I expect that she's sending her energy with us today so that we all get it right and everybody can share in this recipe because it really is quite delicious. And it features rhubarb.
Which is so prolific right now, and almost everybody has a patch. I just started my patch.
Yeah. If you don't have a patch of your own, you can also get it at the farmer's market, and a lot of grocery stores actually make local products available, and rhubarb would certainly be a great one. But almost every town, almost certainly every county has farmers markets, and you can find a lot of those on the website, the Real Maine website.
That's right.
And so you can figure out what day they are, and a lot of times they'll tell you what products they've got. So there are a lot of resources and farm stands too as well.
Yes.
So one of the recipe that we're making today are rhubarb squares, and we have a cup of packed brown sugar, a half a cup of butter, 1 egg, 2 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, a half teaspoon of salt, a cup of sour cream, and 1.5 cups of cut rhubarb. And I was just saying that I have this 1.5 cup measure that I swore I would never use because it seemed like such a silly thing, and here we are, and it's going to be perfect. So we can start cutting rhubarb.
All right. You've got your knife.
So it's interesting. Rhubarb, when you get it, it has sort of a nice cut end on one side, but not on the other.
It's almost, this is the root's end, and it's not hollow, but it almost looks like it.
Yeah. I bet Joe has an answer for why it is that the rhubarb is cut on one end and not on the other.
Let's see.
Good day. Welcome back to Joe's Way, or the Joe Way. I had to correct myself for my wife because I always mess that part up. Today we're discussing rhubarb because that was an item used. Whenever you pick rhubarb, you pull from the stem. You never break it off. If you break it off and leave it hooked to the plant doesn't know that that leaf or stalk is gone, and it will not replace it. When you pull it out and keep this end as it pulls out, the plant will send up another stalk and leaf. That's item number 1. Item number 2, always either break or cut the leaf off of your rhubarb stalk. The leaf is poisonous. If you eat it, you will pay the price. The thing to do is to break it off and use it as compost around your rhubarb, and you're all set. In England and France, they raise rhubarb in the dark. They have big buildings and they raise rhubarb in the dark. We tried it, and I put a garbage can over one plant and in the early spring and let it grow. As it grew, the stalk got long and then pale and tiny wrinkled up leaves. The taste difference was enormous. The taste of the rhubarb was mild, much milder than this stalk would be. What happens is the cells of the rhubarb get elongated because it's trying to reach the sun. What the sun does is it creates this stalk to last in the weather. So it's a tough, flexible, pliable stalk. When it's grown in the dark, It's tender. It is incredible. It's like eating a stalk of celery. There's very little sour taste to it at all. So my recommendation is, if you're just getting into rhubarb next spring, put a garbage can over it, wait, and you will be pleasantly surprised. And that's the Joe way. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
It's always good to know how things happen, isn't it?
Boy, I didn't know that tearing it or twisting it out from the root is the way to go.
It makes the rhubarb plant happy.
It does make the rhubarb.
Does it
happy.
make it last longer through the season?
Yes.
Like it'll keep coming? Wow.
Well, the other thing that you want to do if you want your rhubarb to keep coming is cut the flower off when it shoots up.
Oh.
Because that will keep the energy in the stalks and keep it growing.
And they're a pretty big bloom, I think.
Yes.
Taking a lot of energy out of the plant.
And what about freezing rhubarb? Have you ever frozen rhubarb? I mean, I have, and use it for some things.
I do, and I looked at some of the books that I have on preserving different, vegetables and fruits, and some say to blanch it. I never do. I just cut it up and freeze it, and it never seems to go bad, or it always comes out just fine.
Yeah, no, I've never blanched it. It's so watery anyway.
Right,
I would
right.
think that
Even though it looks really fibery, and it is, when you do make a jam with it, because strawberry rhubarb jam is delicious, it really does melt easily.
There we go. Mary Kate, you can do the official
Let's see how
measuring.
we are.
Ooh, lucky me.
How close are we?
You're getting
We're
there.
pretty
Not
close.
quite.
It's interesting, one of the jokes we have around here is that we have all of the instruments for measuring, and we generally eyeball most of it. And we also say we're also not really bakers,
But we do plenty of baking.
but we do baking.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
but
this is a really easy recipe. It's also, I think, pretty forgiving, and you can substitute things in it really easily. Like
what?
if you didn't have sour cream, you could use yogurt. If you wanted to make a batch that was gluten-free, you could use your favorite, gluten-free mix.
Yeah.
It comes out really, really nicely either way. You could use other fruits, or if you wanted
ever
to
put strawberries in
apples,
it?
you could. I've never done that. I mean, I'm kind of a purist. I think the rhubarb is just fine on its
Yeah.
own, but you could put a little, candied ginger in here. You could get fancy.
I think we're there, gals.
all right.
Like we said, no
doesn't
harm, no
take
harm
much.
done. Having a little extra.
I often, put a little extra rhubarb in anyway.
There we
Here,
go.
this can go
Yeah,
right on the
these
other
are gorgeous.
side. So now we have all of our ingredients, and we can bring the mixer
All
up.
right, you got it. And here's before I block everything, here's the bowl for the dry.
Okay. All right, so we are going to start with brown sugar. And
That's 1 cup.
1 cup. And then a stick of butter.
Yeah. 1/2 cup softened, which that is.
It's very soft.
In a summer kitchen.
In a summer kitchen,
does the work for ya.
soft is soft. And
Egg.
1 egg.
1 egg.
There you go.
Thank you. Oops, I got it.
And those all go in at the same time.
Yes.
I can take that shell for you. Nice.
We started on slow.
Yeah,
just
it
so-
started on slow.
And you said just till blended.
to cream
Right,
it together.
To cream it.
You really want it
Yeah.
to be a creamy consistency to start with.
So how's that so far?
Perfect.
Good. That about right?
That looks about right.
So let's show everybody what. So this is the consistency that we want with the egg and the butter and the brown sugar. Looks like frosting almost.
And now we're going to mix the dry ingredients together.
And what was fun was going through my pantry and just digging out some of my favorite things like sifter. So I'm going to have you hold that, Amanda.
Got it.
So we've got the flour, and that is 2 cups of flour, just plain old all-purpose white flour. and baking soda, and that's 1 teaspoon of baking soda
Yeah.
and a half teaspoon of salt. And that's our Himalayan pink salt because that's what the goats like and that's what we have here.
It's okay if I start sifting.
And start sifting. Isn't that a wonderful thing?
It is. I actually have my grandmother's sifter, just like this,
fun.
and I love using it. It's very, very handy.
So the interesting thing about sifting flour is that there is a difference between 2 cups of sifted flour and 2 cups of flour sifted, because when you sift the flour, it makes more volume. So if you were to measure it after you sift it, you might not actually get as much flour in this recipe as what you need. So we've got the sour cream, we've got the sifted flour and baking soda and salt, and we've got this mixture, and we're going to use that spoon probably. Is that how?
What I usually do is I alternate. I add a little
Yep.
bit of the flour mixture and the sour cream and go back and forth until it's all incorporated.
All right. So should we? And would you start it on slow and add it that way?
Definitely.
All right. There you go.
Okay, maybe you can add the sour cream.
Okay.
Alternately.
Another spoon.
Just add a little bit of flour at a time so it doesn't go poof.
Because it will.
It will
Yes,
poof.
It will.
Oh yeah, it'll totally poof. Sort of a nice sharing opportunity here.
Yeah, this is a good recipe if you have like a child that wants to help you cook.
Oh, good idea.
Different parts that you can do together.
What can be bad about sour cream and butter and eggs and brown sugar?
There's nothing bad about dairy in my book.
No.
But then again, I grew up on a dairy farm, so I'm a little bit biased.
There you go. Dairy's still a very significant industry in this state.
It is. It's very important too.
It is. We had Jenny Tilton Flood,
Yes.
who did a cheese show with
Oh
us.
yes.
And actually the sour cream we're using is Cabot sour cream, so we're connecting all things Maine.
Keeping it in the family.
That's right.
And you mix it till just blended.
Yes.
There you
Just
go.
want it to be well incorporated.
I'll get to add the star of the show afterwards, yes.
Okay, good idea.
There you go.
So what do we think?
Yeah, I think that it's pretty well incorporated. I would go ahead and fold in the.
So I'm gonna, again, show everybody. I think frosting is probably, if somebody was looking at this from home, frosting is probably the best. You know, one of the things we should do though is take that scraper and just pull it down to make sure that we have, even though my little beater has a scraper on it, I never completely trust it.
Yeah. It's really a thick batter.
It
So
is.
You don't want it to be too runny. It should be thick.
And there's so much liquid in the rhubarb itself.
Exactly.
Actually. Because you do this with a spoon, right? So I can. You don't mix the rhubarb in with the mixer?
No, I
Okay.
usually just fold it in with a spatula or a spoon.
Okay.
Yeah, that could beat it up pretty good.
It would, yeah.
Although it is pretty rugged.
It's forgiving.
take it.
Forgiving.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take this off here, and you
yeah,
can
that.
move
gotcha.
that. And then Mary Kate, we are going to let you
Thank you.
put some rhubarb in there.
All right. You can just put the whole thing and then do a little bit of mixing. So it's such a gorgeous color, really. And you want to incorporate it so that every bite has a bit. Or
And
two.
it keeps the moisture
distributed evenly.
distributed, yep.
Yes.
Should I get the pan?
Sure. Okay. It's looking pretty good. All incorporated. You don't want any empty spots. Okay. I'm going to do one more circle around.
And then you can put it in
Spread
the
it in
pan.
there. Can do.
All right.
And it is a thick batter. I mean, it isn't like a cake batter that you pour in, so people shouldn't feel like, that it needs to be
Right.
something that you pour in. It really does need to be spooned in and
Yep.
spread around.
Spread
If you
around,
want a
right.
spoon, we can do that too.
And this is a buttered pan.
Yes.
A greased pan,
Yes.
just so everyone knows that.
Yep. And it's 9 by 13.
Yeah,
And it's deeper than.
It
I
is
mean,
a
does it rise pretty well?
yeah. I mean, I think I tend to use a smaller pan.
Oh, okay.
It comes out a little bit thicker that way. So, but this is the size pan that my grandmother used. So, and it is her recipe. So we're doing it just like she said.
That's right. We're following the rules, Graham.
Yeah. Although she was she wasn't always a rule follower. She was very creative, and she liked to experiment and try new things.
Oh, nice.
So, and I loved cooking with her.
So did you cook with her a lot?
I did cook with her. I also was very fortunate. I inherited all of her cookbooks.
Oh, wow.
So one of my favorite things to do, I do read cookbooks like they're novels, but I love going through and finding her notes and her handwriting and some of the really kind of crazy recipes she tried. Yeah, but she had some real classics too that are still like our family go-tos.
Well, you're a kindred spirit because we've talked about how much we love the notations in our family's cookbooks,
Right.
and the ones that aren't so great. Okay, was my mother-in-law's term for I'm not going to do that one, but really good. It was a
Yeah.
keeper, and so I do those ones.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's also funny, if you've watched several episodes of our show, Mary Kate and I have often talked about reading cookbooks like a novel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really funny. So
Yeah.
it was neat to hear you say that as well.
Yeah.
So the finishing touch on this amazing bar recipe is a topping, and the topping I've actually already mixed together the ingredients, most of them. It's a half a cup of sugar, a half a cup of, actually I mixed walnuts and pecans, a tablespoon of melted butter, which is right there, and a teaspoon of cinnamon, which really gives it a pop. So maybe another spoon. It's a good thing we have a lot of spoons there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
There, you can
Mix
put
it up
those
together?
together and sprinkle it on the top and show us how it's done.
I'm just gonna spread this around a little bit, just enough to wet it.
And the texture that the topping brings to this must just be the perfect addition.
Yeah, it gives it that sweet, crunchy kind of bite.
Almost like a coffee cake.
It is
It
much
is
like a coffee cake, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if there were any spices, ad lib, like a
Very-
nutmeg or cinnamon
yeah,
to
you
the actual
could.
batter, but
Yeah, you could, but
this brings it.
it does bring it. You'll definitely taste that hint of cinnamon. Okay, and then just I'm going to sprinkle this over the top. I just have to say, being in the kitchen is one of my favorite things to do. So thank you again for having me here.
Oh, well, we're delighted. And all the work that you do makes sure that we have good Maine products in order to do our kitchen work.
And it's so fun how cookbooks or recipes all tie into our experience in Maine, and how much, as the commissioner, how many different ways you get to experience people's appreciation for agriculture in the state. When I was purchasing this lovely book, I had the first edition, not the second. A gentleman who was just standing beside me said, "I have both of those. They're excellent." So it's just people have some ownership with Maine, certainly, but recipes that come from Maine, and farmers markets and farm stands and all the best parts of summer.
Well, what's so great about that cookbook is it's not just recipes, but it's the stories. The stories of Maine
Storytelling.
people and why these recipes are so important to them, and what their family heritage is, or their just their.
And a spin-off
That's
of
perfect.
the community cookbooks are the community tables.
Oh, right, yeah.
And that's happening around the state, and you can, again, find that, I'm sure, on the Real Maine website of
Is
where
it a community dinner?
It's a potluck, and people tell stories.
Yep, it's Carl Schatz and Margaret Hathaway, right? From 10 Apple Farm.
Yep.
And they have been putting these cookbooks together, and it's been a real labor of love for them, and they are doing these community dinners now, which gives an opportunity for recipes like this to come to life and be part of a conversation. So it's
That's
really,
great.
really neat.
So we are going to put this in a 350-degree oven for 45 to 50 minutes, which seems like a long time, but I expect your grandmother knew what she was doing. In it goes. agritourism is something that, I'm very interested in as a way of educating consumers about what really goes on farms. I think they sometimes don't appreciate some of the challenges, and I know the department has really been putting a lot of time into that lately.
Yes, we do. We promote so many different events. I mean, I can be on the road every single weekend during the spring, summer, and fall, it seems, from the kickoff of Maine Maple Sunday in March to, we have Open Farm Day, Open Creamery Day, and on and on and on. And then there's also lots of great opportunities to visit and tour around the state if you're following the Maine Ice Cream Trail or the Wine Trail.
Or the Fiber Trail.
The Fiber Trail. It really, it's such a wonderful way to see the state and also to meet farmers. And I also try to encourage people as they're getting out there to thank the farmers that they encounter, because we all know how hard they work, and we're really lucky to have them.
And that's what's so wonderful about agritourism in a state like Maine, because people experience agriculture in so many different ways, right? And so, you can go pet a kid goat, in a certain time of the year. And I know that a lot of people love to do that and introduce their kids to, to animals. And then of course there's the trails, even breweries, the grain, all of those things, going to a real farm, or just if my experience is, buying locally from a farmer's market, that's good stuff as well. But it's so personal what your experience is with agritourism.
And there's so many pick your own. I mean, the apple industry in Maine has changed so dramatically to pick your own. And again, giving people that opportunity to understand how hard it is to get a bag of apples. It's not, you can't just, it's not just there.
Yep.
And I think that's a really important piece, and the department's done a lot of work on that. I think it's really
and the seasonality as well.
Yes.
The pumpkins in the fall, the apples in the fall, but also as early as the the fiddleheads, the maple syrup.
Right.
It feels like it goes really quickly, but that seasonality piece to our local foods is one of my favorite aspects.
Yeah, and we're also in the thick of fair season, so that's another way that folks get out and
perfect example.
Yes, move around the state and learn about agriculture, and it's a lot
and the first fair starts. Is it
it's
in
already
June?
it's
here.
It's already
we've
happened.
already
We're in it.
happened.
We're in it. Yeah.
We're in fair season, and it will land until Freiburg Fair, which is the largest fair in the state, and really an amazing showcase. And then Windsor Fair, which is very close to us, which is the second largest fair in the state. And Tom Foster's been shepherding that for a long time, and he's a great guy.
Yep.
So I think it's about time we check on our squares. Oh, that smells so good. I smell cinnamon and nuts. And
That's a good size batch.
it is a good size batch. Look at that.
Great.
Nice and warm out of the oven. And you said these could be served warm or room temperature, whatever.
Chilled, however you like it.
Great.
How about with some ice cream?
Even better.
Even better.
How about it?
And one of the exciting things about this blank container of ice cream is that it came from Round Top Farm in Damariscotta, and they are celebrating 100 years this year. And so it's just an amazing business that has been around for so long, started as a dairy farm, and now they do ice cream. And it's a landmark in Lincoln County.
A personal history in our family as well.
Yes. Yeah, you're
Yes, so my mother-in-law grew up at Round Top Farm, and her father was the creator of the dairy and the ice cream and started the whole shebang. So it's pretty exciting. Congratulations to Round Top.
Absolutely.
Looks like those came out just right.
Boy, they sure did.
Oh, that smells so good. And I think a scoop of ice cream just
Oh,
kind of
absolutely.
finishes it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I love the sound.
They're very soft, which is lovely.
Yep. They are moist. I mean,
They are, yeah. And I was thinking that being in the oven for so long and
Sorry.
and that would be an issue. It isn't, so that's great.
So I'm trying to make sure I'm doing the ice cream in balance with the bites.
You can always go back for more ice
Exactly.
cream if you need to.
Go back for
You don't want to be
You can-
stingy. You don't want to be
you
stingy.
everything.
the ice cream. There we go.
Yum.
Yeah.
There.
Thanks.
And one of the most fun parts of this show is that we get to try everything
Yes.
because grab a spoon. Back to spoons. We get to try everything because we want to tell people how wonderful it is. So let's have rhubarb squares and ice cream. Oh my goodness. Can we just do a show sometime where we just eat?
I think that's what the tartness from the rhubarb really brings it. It's really a delicious combination with the cinnamon that you're right, I do get that in the topping.
And the nuts. And
Right.
it's just marvelous.
I have never put ice cream together with this,
Ah,
with my rhubarb squares or my grandmother's rhubarb squares, but I think this is a good new tradition.
I think of ice cream as one of the 4 food groups in general, sort of by itself. So, there you go.
And whipped cream would work in a pinch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there you have it. We have Commissioner Beal's grandmother's rhubarb squares, and it was brown sugar and butter and egg and flour, baking soda, salt, sour cream, and rhubarb mixed together with a topping of sugar, walnuts, melted butter, and cinnamon, baked at 350 for about 50 minutes. We're serving it warm with some round top ice cream, but you can also have them as a snack and have them room temperature. And they are delicious. And thank you so much for sharing your recipe with us and sharing your gram with us.
Thank you. It's really special.
Commissioner Amanda Beal from the Maine State Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. And this amazing recipe, which is in the Maine Community Cookbook, the 2nd edition. So,
I'm Mary Kate Rennie.
I'm Marge Kilkelly. Thank you for joining us on Nourishing Maine.